It's showtime. Apparently, we're live. Hello. Who's already in the chat? Heist and Fox of Fate. Hello to you. I hope you are doing well this evening. In this usual odd limbo of expecting AD to be here because I did chat with him via the text medium earlier this evening. He's going to be there. But yes, AD's bodily well-being and functioning generally is so precarious at basically no notice he can get derailed quite severely. And good evening to you, Miss Foxification. So he may or may not join us now, in half an hour, not at all. Who can tell? Not me. AD is one of the cosmic mysteries of the universe. And would we have it any other way? Would we have AD be predictable? I think not. I think the great Australian and indeed global public welcome the unpredictable force of nature that is AD. BBO, you want to order a full English Brexit with silly sausage, magic bean, Francis bacon, hash Gordon Browns? I made a Brexit cocktail once. It had gin to represent England, Irish whiskey because the Ireland question was very big in the whole Brexit negotiations. I had some cognac to represent France, a bitter Italian aperitivo, just because that's European, and so many people were so bitter on both sides of the Brexit debate. I thought that was appropriate. And I topped it off with a dash of Spanish absinthe. Again, Spain part of the EU, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. Sure, Spain's in the EU. They are, aren't they? So, yeah, it was just an excuse to mix a bunch of alcohols, basically. Misfortification, you're of the belief a butt plug represents the thing. Hey, Adele, how are you? Yes, you were here right at the start. Good to see you. And yes, Fox, I agree with you. The summary of the Labor post-election review was, fuck. She's fucked, mate. And I'm still glad that prior to the election, where I did assume, like so many people, not only would Labor win, but the win would probably be relatively comfortable. Super wrong. Super wrong. And yes, anyone who wanted to have a laugh at my expense deserves that. I won't show you why. I saw so many either pro-Labor or anti-LNP agitators say, "No, I'm not upset at the election. I'm better off. Everyone else is losing. Yeah, I'm not upset. I was upset. It was a shit result. It was a terrible result. I was incredibly demoralized by it. So people who wanted to have a little laugh at me on that front, they deserve it. They get to have that, because God knows I would have been laughing at them if it went the other way. So don't begrudge anyone having a laugh at me, and I'm not going to pretend that the result didn't upset me. But I am glad that I said multiple times before the election, Shorten was shit as a leader. He didn't deserve it. He just kind of fell into the role, and he'd never offered the Australian public anything more compelling than, "I'm not that guy," which is a shit bloody platform, quite honestly. He and Labor under him never did anything to inspire people to vote for them, and I thought they were shit. I didn't expect them to lose the election, but at least I was on record before the election saying what I didn't like about the way they were doing it. Oh, yes, and we're also been talking about the police strip search thing. The New South Wales police, who seem a bit over-eager to strip search young females and underage girls as young as 12. And the fucking toad police minister who just went the whole way with, oh no, I'd want cops to strip search my kids if they did something wrong. Fucking garbage. Good Spirit, good morning to you in Michigan. It's 8 p.m. here, in fact. Sun has just set as we are in, we're halfway through spring, getting towards summer. People, I think we all hate Shorten. I don't know. Shorten's response to the post-election review really sounded like he thinks he has a chance to come back in the future. I personally am totally fucking disgusted with Albanese as opposition leader. I thought he was like an old school lefty, and he's been weak as piss. He's been fucking terrible. I never liked Shorten as leader, never thought he deserved it. But I was never as angry at Shorten as I am at Albanese. He's just been so fucked since the election. He's been terrible. 4 a.m. Good Spirit. Are you an early work shift or an insomniac? When I get people from bits of the Northern Hemisphere in very different time zones, sometimes it's work-related and sometimes it's insomnia-related. That was interesting. Adele in Creepy Men News. Oh, that thing from the rapper T.I., who honestly I'd never heard of before this story broke. Yes, for those who never heard it, an American rapper goes by the name T.I. I think he thought he was making a joke because I cannot believe it's literally true. I just can't believe that it's literally true. I think he thinks he's making a joke. He said he took his daughter to an annual checkup from a gynecologist to check her hymen's still intact, and he's pleased to announce as of 18 it's still intact. It's like everything about that is sick, fucked, and wrong. Like I said, I'm sure he thinks it's a joke. It can't possibly be true because I'm reasonably sure it would be criminal, and a doctor who did that sort of thing with a father present would lose their medical license. Whoops, I see an AIDSy. Wave if you're ready to come on, son. Yes, you're ready to come on. Okay, it's the man, it's the legend, it's the AIDSy.
How you going? G'day. Thanks for letting me be on your device. It's very nice. I'm trying to make my beard look like a sexual function.
That's fair.
Anyway.
Here's a fun one, AZ, what we were just talking about when you came in. You probably wouldn't have seen that. There's some media reports. An American rapper who goes by the name T.I., I don't know who he is, he's made this weird statement that he's taken his daughter for an annual visit to the gynecologist to check her hymen's intact. And he's pleased to announce as of her 18th birthday it is. And I was saying that has to be his attempt at a joke because I believe that wouldn't be legal. I believe a doctor who would do that sort of thing would lose their medical license.
No, it's perfectly legal.
Adele
I do
thinks
it every year. Look, down the road from me is the Catholic Girls High School.
Yes.
And when they go past my place, I grab them and I take them down to the doctors down the road and say, hymen check, thank you. And they take
you're a Catholic priest then.
Hey?
They must just think you're a Catholic priest doing stuff like that.
Concerned citizen.
Yeah, but I think that's what
that's all you need to be.
Yeah.
No, don't even need to be a priest. You just grab a Catholic girl.
I know you are, in fact, not. I'm just going.
You don't need to be. Any concerned citizen could grab a Catholic girl and drag her in and go, hymen check. Right? You can even get the receptionist to do it because they're, it's a nurse thing now. You've got to be there in the room to make sure nothing dodgy's going on and to check for yourself. Once they set up the camera and that, you look, yeah, okay, good. And then she's off to school. Written note, why you're late, hymen check.
Oh, yeah,
But yeah, no, Rapper TI is in America, quite able to take his daughter in for a hymen check. It is not uncommon. Happens all the time in all US states. Blew my fucking mind when I found this out a few years ago now. Actually, I found it out at uni from one of the American exchange students. Because she and her friend were pissed. And they thought this was great fun because in America, you're not allowed to drink till you're 21, right? Then they get over to Australia and they're 19 and they get taken to the bar and they go, oh, yeah, here we are. And then they got, given beers and they're going, what's, do I need to show ID? And it's like, yeah, but you're 19, so it's sweet. And they go, well, what do you mean? Oh, it's 18 is the drinking age. And they're going, woohoo! And so the Americans are at the bar Tuesday, Thursday, Wednesday, Monday, fucking getting into it. And a few times they'd have their 21st and it'd be like a bit of a downer because, they'd be at the bar pissing on. It's like,
now it's even legal back home.
Yeah. And they're legal back home now. Yeah. Bit of a anticlimax.
Yeah.
Anyway, so at one point the girls were there's a couple of American girls who got on with Australian girls. There's a few American girls who didn't. And a couple of American girls were going, Cindy's not here. And one of the other ones was laughing. Yeah, probably got to go for a hymen check. Ah! And everyone's going, the fuck?
Yeah.
And they said, oh, hymen check, No, we don't know. And they're like, ah! And they're like, stop laughing and tell us what the hell you're talking about. And they did. And we're going like that. And they said, no, I do it all the time. The doctors are quite happy to let Papa in on. Used to be that Papa was in the room, and now Papa's not in the room. Doctor comes out and says, all good. And you better come and sit down. I've got some news for you. Or we've got some news for you.
Oh, dear. No. Oh, God. Yeah, for those who don't know, Aidsy and I went to the same university. We were there at the same... Well, my last year was Aidsy's first year. So, and our college principal, Mel McMichael, was an American chap, an alumnus of the Oregon State University, and he organized an exchange program between the two. And so every, I don't know, half a dozen of ours would go over there, none of whom ever stayed there, and half a dozen Yanks would come over here, a significant number of which did stay here because they found life much more agreeable here than in the US. But actually in the US, I was going to say, good among the people saying hello to you, the Good Spirit is joining us from Michigan, 4 a.m.
Morning, the Good Spirit. How are ya? Thank you very much for joining us in the morning. And Michigan's, which side is Michigan?
It's right in the middle.
Oh, it's on the lake, isn't it? The Michigan is one of the Great Lakes. So it's sort of in the middle-ish on the right?
The middle to the north.
Middle to, well, yeah, north, because that's where the lakes are. But then you get the lakes over to the right.
Yeah.
And, up the top. Where, you got the Canadians, not the Canadians. That's what? It's Canadians. Because they're
no, it's right. It's okay. Look, is that gonna? You see, there's Michigan, the red bit.
Yeah,
is it all visible? So it is right up north. It is
like
it is
what
on
I
the
said.
border. Yeah,
like what I said, up to the right.
Yeah, up and to the right. Exactly what you said. Just
Don't be so fucking surprised that I got something right, Angry. Fuck.
Okay, is anyone going to hold me responsible for that? Is anyone going to hold me responsible?
Miffed face. Looking at you,
No,
big
oh
guy.
no! I thought AZ was talking out his ass. Oh my god! Someone call the police. That's a miffed face. That is a miffed face.
You have no idea how difficult that was to engineer me looking at Angry. Because when I look this way at Angry, has no relationship to what I'm seeing on the screen.
Yeah.
And there is nothing there except for a plastic bag with a unicorn onesie in it that boss of the house will not wear.
Oh, that shows a lack of adventure.
And taste, because he loves unicorns.
Yeah. Oh, of course. Sartha's just pointing out, of course, the best known city in Michigan is Detroit. I don't even, the bloody weirdness of US states where no one knows what the capital is and the best known city is almost never the capital of the state. But Detroit, of course, is right on the Canadian border. It's one of the things Michael Moore did in one of his documentaries, the one about guns. Just Detroit had a fairly significant violent crime problem, fairly significant gun problem, and literally just across the water in Canada are people who don't lock their front door. And it's like, what the fuck is causing this? Like, these are people only a couple of miles apart.
You know, in Canada, they've actually got a higher per capita gun ownership than the US. They actually own more guns per person, but their actual gun death is just negligible compared to the American. One of the things that has been suggested. Okay?
All right.
It's a suggestion.
You're going to get really upset if I shoot you down, by the way.
Me?
Yes. I think where you might be right, I think you may be correct that more individual Canadians own guns, but they own them for practical reasons. So they only own one, like their hunters or whatever. America has significantly higher firearms in private hands per capita. They've literally got more guns than people. 120 civilian firearms per 100 persons, whereas Canada has 35. But where I think you may be right, I think it may be more individual Canadians own guns, because something like a really absurd percentage of those guns, like 75%, is owned by 10% of the population. Like it's although it's 1.2 guns per person, it's actually most people don't have a gun, but some people have 10 or 20.
That's right. Yeah.
So although, I think you so there's there are more. Okay, this is, how do they work this out?
Okay, I'll wait for you.
No. Oh, okay. No. I worked out. Here's where you're right. There are twice as many registered firearms in Canada as there are in the US. It's just that there are approximately 200 times more unregistered firearms in the US than there are in Canada. That's a spooky number.
They don't count. We all know that they're not rule. You know?
America has 1 million registered firearms. Canada has 2 million registered firearms. Canada has maybe 10 million unregistered firearms. America has about 400 million unregistered firearms. Jesus.
Well, I think that that's responsible.
Oh my God.
Because if a tyrannical government came in, you know, they could shoot their brown people. Anyway,
that's basically it. That's the plan. Or guns in case there's a tyrannical government, and then you're going to fight the military. No, I'm going to shoot people I don't like.
Yeah, I'm going to shoot people that scare me. So here's my controversial theory of what I heard. Okay, so why is Canada so less shooty than America?
Yes.
It suggested that anywhere the Commonwealth has taken root, and this is the Englanders' Commonwealth, right?
Yes.
Remember the United States said, England and stuff, you got to go because you don't want to pay your tax, but we'd like to have your Navy protect our sea lanes. And the Englanders went, it's very expensive protecting your sea lanes with our Navy. Do you want to maybe chip in? Nah. Right then. Fuck yeah. And so then they had, contretemps. And then the Americans went, yeah, you got to go. And then the Englanders went, fine. And then they took their bat and ball and navy and went home. Then the Spanish and the pirates. But let's just ignore that. So then the Canadians went, nah, we're staying. And the Indians are our friends. So fuck off. And then it is suggested that wherever the Commonwealth went, they left a legislation, a parliamentary system, English language, and cricket. But they also left a society without rights, but obligations.
Mm-hmm.
The United States has a Bill of Rights and no obligations. So the theory goes, if I've got rights, then my rights are inviolable. To the
Yeah.
extent that they're more inviolable than your rights. Angry, looking
Your
at
right
you.
to live.
So my right to live is much more important than your right to live.
Yeah.
Angry, looking at you. And as a result, if I shoot you, then it's okay because my rights are more important. I'm also allowed to shoot you because my Bible tells me so.
Yeah.
Something like, it was worked out, I heard this statistic, and it is 97 out of 100 inmates on death row are devout Christians. And it's suggested that whatever they do in this life doesn't matter because they'll repent and it'll all be good. And so the percentage of atheists on death row is something like 0.03%. Nice stickers.
I know.
Anyway,
Looking at them.
yeah, I think StreamYard's trying to say about time to let us in. So, yeah, the basic controversy is that the England Commonwealth system says no religion can supersede another one at all, ever. You can't even pretend. It's okay to be a Christian society, but if anyone else wants to differ, you're not allowed. Because remember, they had the whole Henry VIII thing, and they had the whole Catholics and Protestants fucking giving it to one another. And then in Northern Ireland, they really had it for a long time. And do you know what they were fighting over? An area the size of 4 blocks in Melbourne. That was the fight. It was all over. It was a postage stamp.
You're talking about the Northern Ireland border?
No, not the Northern Ireland border. The particular focus of the Troubles in Dublin, right? Which is where it all spidered out from.
Well, I mean, it was everywhere. The sharpest stuff, the border
Yeah. It was
like
everywhere. But right in there, was where the big territory was. Oh, it's fucking full on. Anyway, there's more to that, but we'll leave it alone. So, when you go to your American Constitution, which is a fine document, I think, we the people. Basically, it's it it extols and upholds freedom of religion, but it was meant to the founding fathers were meant they meant it to also mean freedom from religion.
Mm.
Okay, now we get into our Illuminati, and now we get into the New World Order. Okay,
Yeah.
very important. So everyone's afraid of the New World Order, but it should be noted that it's happened and it's finished and it's done,
Yes.
because the New World Order was the founding of the United States, and the New World Order was no kings, no popes. So there was to be the the triangle of head of state and religion,
Yeah.
bound together, kings and religion lording it over everyone else, was to be split and smashed. And it
Yeah.
was to be people deciding for the people, we the people. So that was the New World Order, because remember, it hadn't been really tried in Enlightenment times. Most of these European places were monarchies, and the United States was not a monarchy. It was a representative democracy. However, what had been happening over in Britain for a long time was the British monarchy, seeing what was happening to monarchies all over the world, was gradually divesting themselves of power into Parliament, into constitutional.
Mm.
It's a constitutional monarchy even now, and so is Australia, by the way.
Yes.
So more and more, the monarchy was devolving power into the two bicameral system, two house
Yeah.
system, which a lot of people have copied. Looking at you, America. And effectively, what happened was the British monarchy and the Danish monarchy and the Dutch monarchy held their castles, because they gave away all the power to the actual people living there. And as a result, as part of that trade-off, the protections promised by the royals, the heads of state, the royals in each of those countries, actually, is that they will defend the realm with the armies and stuff, and they will protect the faith, which is, the national faith, Church of England.
Mm.
And there's a Church of Scotland, there's a Church of Wales, and there's no Church of Ireland, because it was already tricky. So basically, because there was a national religion, the national religion also promised not to, because after the argy-bargy of Henry VIII and Cromwell and all that,
Yeah.
they promised to not hassle any other religion, and to uphold everyone else's right to quiet enjoyment. Yeah, so everyone has the right to quiet enjoyment of their land and property, which includes women and children and cattle, important things. Um, uh, and effectively, this set up a series of obligations. The individuals are obligated to the family's obligated to the county's obligated to the country's obligated to the monarch is obligated to the people. See how it all goes nice and circular? So that is the Commonwealth. The Commonwealth is the people in the country. They are the wealth. And as a result, to get anything done, you've got to negotiate with the other wealth. You can't force the other wealth to do anything. You
Mm.
and I cannot bring criminal charges against person against any other person in Australia. What has to happen is the state brings criminal charges against a person.
Mm.
Charges against person are way more harshly punished than crimes against property. We do not have grand theft auto. We do not have larceny or theft that goes up in scale. There's petty theft, and then there's criminal theft, and that's it. There is no other levels. After $9,000, that's it. It's $9,000 and $2 billion. It's the same. But it depends on who got hurt on the way. Depends on if you stole lots and lots of millions of dollars and you destroyed people's lives and homes, then you get more harshly punished. But crimes against person, way more harshly punished, and the state actually brings those crimes. And the reason the state does is if a criminal hurts me, and that wouldn't happen because I'm tough as, and chicks dig me. I've got scars. Chicks dig scars. Do you want to see my scars?
No. The answer for everyone is no.
It's in
No.
right in there.
Yeah.
Okay. Look, see the show. You'll see them there. Anyway, so if someone hurt me, which wouldn't happen because I'm tough, I couldn't go, ow, he stabbed me. I'm going to take you and put you in jail. No. The Australian polices and law courts would do it. And say if my stabber said, you're going to make my charges go away because I don't want to go to jail because you can't smoke in there, which is true. Guys are behaving themselves because they can't stop smoking. I don't want to go to jail. You can't smoke. So I can't be intimidated as a witness or as a victim because they don't need me. It's the weirdest, it's a strange system. They don't need me. They've brought the charges because they've got the proof. If I stand on the witness box and go, I don't know, I don't think it was him, the police will go, yeah, no, it was. We don't care. We've got evidence. We've got photos and fingerprints. The victim's saying no. Well, yeah, but he's scared. Piss off. And they will continue the trial without me. If I run away because I'm scared, they'll just continue on. They don't even give a shit. Sometimes they'll help you run away if it's really scary. Sometimes you'll do your witnessing from a TV because you're in a different place. And then the curtain falls down and you can see Dream World and it's like, Gold Coast. It's a different system than the United States. And basically what you've got here is a set of obligations, not a set of rights. You're not entitled to anything. You are obligated to do things. What might be nice here in Australia, in fact, is if we codified our Bill of Obligations and set them out. I don't think we should ever get a Bill of Rights.
That's a pet thing of yours. And I see the validity. I'm trying to work out what. Oh, PBR said the only cigars I want to see are these ones. Trying to work out what the little emojis were. I think they're cigarettes.
Are they cigarettes?
I don't know. What are those emojis meant to be, PBR? Because my old eyes and out of touch brain is not really sure. I feel like they're meant to be cigarettes. Yeah. I don't know. I'm old and don't follow the whole fucking emoji thing anyways. Trying to get a unique perspective on it. I like that. They are cigarettes. Justin. Oh, okay. PBR says they're cigars. So it was a pun.
Cigars. See?
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, PBR. You rule, and you made me look upside down, which for you get the AIDS needs his medicine call. First one of the night.
Good.
See in a bit. I'm gonna do this. You don't have to do anything. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna mute.
Yeah. Yep. See, he's mute. And okay. We'll bring AIDS back in a little bit. So yes, okay. Cigarette emoji. Fair enough. See, this is one of those where you lose those battles occasionally, like when a new term comes along and there's always people who don't like it. It's often me. And so that's stupid. Don't call it that. And of course, the word emoticon has existed since the 90s, and that was your text-based smiley face, etc. And emojis are, of course, just the latest iteration of emoticons. And so I was one of the people who's a bit resistant to calling them emojis. I go, why are you calling them emojis? We've already got the term emoticons. Why the fuck? But it was a lost battle. They're emojis. Safa, how different is the Australian system compared to UK laws? I don't know. I know our system is modelled on the UK system. So my guess would be not all that different. We are, after all, still part of the Commonwealth. We only started making our own laws in the 20th century. And we only regarded ourselves as legally distinct from England comparatively recently. So I'm going to go out on a limb and say our Australian legal system is probably very similar to the US. I'm sure there's differences. There's going to be differences. There's always differences.
Angry, in a second,
yeah.
when I come back on, I'll
Yeah.
tell you how our system is the same and different from the UKans. Because I'm good. I'm very good at constitutional law.
Okay.
And it's a bizarre reason why, but I'll tell you why in a little summary at the end. You know, haven't even let me come back on the screen, Angry. Thank you.
You said when you're ready, and then you didn't say you were ready.
When you were ready, Angry.
When I was ready. Oh well, ready. if it's when I'm ready, then we'll just
remember, learn to talk your Australian, Angry. When you're ready, you are.
Yeah. All right.
Anyway, look, it's like this, right? In the Englanders, the Sea Lords are the final arbiters of law in the land. Yeah. They can take prime ministers and try them. In Australia, the High Court is the second last stop, and the highest stop is the Governor General. Now, if the Governor General's involved, that usually involves a dissolution of the entire executive branch of the Parliament.
Which, did happen once in 1975, yes.
Well, I, after we last talked about that, thought, I wonder if there's been anything similar, and there has. It didn't involve the sacking of a government, right? That was unique. That was the 1975 thing. That was the sacking of a government because of bullshit reasons. Probably had to change a lot of things. It's, credit where credit is due. But the way it was done was pretty dodgy. Anyway, once in 1907, there was a deadlocked parliament in Melbourne, because they had federal parliament in Melbourne before Canberra was finished. And they couldn't, the Whigs and the Labor couldn't have, they couldn't get together on customs duties coming in from Western Australia or coming in from Queensland, and it had a lot to do with the sea lanes, and it had a lot to do with wheat and sheep. Okay, I'm glossing over, but the right and the left had their reasons, and they couldn't deadlock it. So together they got the Governor General to dissolve Parliament from the Viceregal authority. And then they had it out in the election. And again, in 1921, the right and the left, I can't remember what the right was called back then. Anyway, they both again were deadlocked. And they had 2 parliamentarians die. And so the House balance was right out, and it was like knife edge parliament was virtually hung, and it was untenable for both of them, and they couldn't really get anything through either way. Back in those days, the opposition could actually put bills up, and they would all just vote on them as a good idea or not. I know, right? Like everybody was just working for the country. What the? Anyway, yeah, but they couldn't sort of get anything through, and it was all very messy. And so they went to the Governor General and said, "Yeah, can we have another go?" And so, yes, it's actually happened a couple of times.
Yes.
So,
Oh, well, there's like voluntary double dissolutions where the government actually where the government says, okay, stuff's not happening. We're deadlocked in this stuff. I'm going to dissolve both houses of parliament, and hopefully there'll be a clear result in the election, and that will decide what happens from then on. You do have to meet certain hurdles to call
that to happen. You have to have legislation come back through the Senate twice.
Yeah.
And you can engineer that, and
Oh,
they do.
Yeah.
But basically, also technically, every time a government says we want an election, normal schedule, they have to ask the Governor General to dissolve Parliament. But
Yes.
this is what you're talking about is one government going, okay, we're spitting the dumb, right? What we've got here is both sides of the house basically going, do this now. And in 1975, the Governor General fired the government on not weak grounds, but dodgy grounds.
Very dodgy.
Very dodgy. I mean, they were legal, technically legal, but very dodgy. Anyway, so the other difference to the UK system is that the Inland Revenue has to ask. I don't know if they have to ask. I did know this, but they have to ask someone before they go into the bank account of a citizen and drag their money out. Here in Australia, the ATO can take as much as they friggin' want. Trying to work out what the shiny ball is in front of Angry Lol. It is a UFO that he won't let anyone else look at or play with. This is me being salty.
The microphone.
It's a bit bloody fancy to be a microphone, though. See, this is my microphone here, and you can say, "Hey, Easy, I hear your sexy voice. You're like that guy on drugs that they found that had the cool radio voice." Yeah, because I was the guy on drugs, and I've got a cool radio voice. Except I haven't got all the fame and a radio show. I got a podcast though, or vodcast, and I get to speak with Angry.
Yes,
he likes me.
Yeah, we went on the podcast last week. The little talkies we had last week about police brutality went on the podcast channel.
What?
What? Your teeth are going funny?
Oh, yeah. Okay, I'm just going to glue them back together. I'll talk while this. I can still talk. It's fine.
That's good.
In my pocket, I've actually got glue. See?
That's handy.
Yeah. So yeah, the police are still brutal, but they're allowed to be because we've got a prime minister who wants to ban anyone from protesting against a business.
It's absolutely surreal. Like, he is seriously saying completely passive protest should be illegal. It's illegal. It's one thing when the cops go people at a protest and then use the people reacting badly as an excuse to go in hard. But he's literally saying passive protesting and organizing boycotts should be illegal. It's absolutely fucking insane.
Mm-hmm. And he's saying that companies have more of a natural right to do as they wish, then citizens have a right to protest what these
Yeah.
companies are doing, right?
Yeah.
And this is okay. This is one of the ideological breakdowns in this land, is that one of the sides basically say that money in business is to serve the people, and the other side is to say that the people are to serve money in business, and it's effectively who's on top. Um, and the people on top like the people to serve money in business because they get advantage, and the other side says that money in business is supposed to serve the people because the people at the bottom get advantage, and the people on the top get advantage anyway. So I don't know why they fucking complain. And effectively, it's about who gets to screw who and when and why. And this thing that he's doing, now I happen to know a bit of this. You were asking before how I knew so much about constitutional law. He wasn't. I just said that. And what it was way back in the day, we had a Prime Minister called John Howard, who was the guy who started the moral panic against Muslims. And we will say who comes to this country and when. And he also said, if anyone says anything bad about the government, we can put them in jail. And the comedians were shit scared because most of what we said all the time was the government is fucked and should be taken out of government. A lot when John Howard was in.
Yeah.
And so we were terrified. And then anyway, we got we went to one of these gigs and everybody was invited. It was a very big gig, a very important gig in town. And members of the legal fraternity got in touch with us. And all these comics packed into this venue, and there was no public there that night. It was all comics and spouses. And on stage was a lawyer, a high court lawyer, like a QC, a solicitor, very, very full-on solicitor, a barrister QC,
Yes.
and police commissioner, and a high court judge, as well as a Supreme Court judge. Like these were like heavy hitters, right?
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
the police commissioner came on and said, well, I'm the lowest ranked here, so I'll talk first. And he says, right, so the law is this. We can be ordered to come into any comedy room and arrest any comedian that says anything against the law. This will be difficult as we are very poor interpreters of the law, and often we have to take our own discretion at what is lawful and what is not, because we don't often have the advice of a lawyer near us. He was great. He was talking like a cop the whole time. So police may indeed be confused as to what the comedians are saying and not fully understand what they are saying. And we will find that many police will be confused at comedy venues, even if we are forced to attend. We will be up at the back in our uniforms and be very confused at what is being said. Did he really say something against the government? Was it in jest? Was it really against this government? Was it another government? How will we know? And then he got off to rapturous applause. Then the solicitor came on and said, right, if you get done, you are to ring your manager, friend, someone, because they're going to give you a phone call, which they will listen to. And they're to get in contact with this place, and they're to get in contact with us. You're saying nothing to the police. And the commissioner said, yes, don't say anything to the police. Never. And you wait till we get there, and you'll be very happy to see who gets there. And you say nothing. And when you're in the interview with me, you say nothing. I'll be doing the talking. And someone put their hand up and said, how much do you cost? Because we're not very... Don't worry about that. There is a group of concerned citizens who have already started a trust fund.
Yes.
for this
You do
very
actually
thing.
get free speech warriors in Australia who aren't lying hypocrites,
No.
actual lawyers who will defend someone on
Mm.
free speech grounds.
Oh, it was a huge thing because someone asked Howard, the Prime Minister, does that mean comedians as well? And he said, well, anyone. And this rippled across Australia like a fire because the idea of shooting the clown here is not on. You know, the comedians are allowed to take the piss out of anybody. That's the
Yeah.
rules. And
But you
my
can
head
lose
just
your
got
job.
going. Hey?
You can lose your job fairly easily because if you have a media job, they're usually very, very timid, and if you upset the wrong person, you should essentially expect to lose your job. But if you're just a
Oh,
stand-up
yeah.
comedian just doing live gigs, then
No, you're
up
fucked.
you
You're
go.
gone. Yeah, the smaller the comedian is, the safer he is.
Yeah.
If you're on TV and you say something like that, you could get fired, but you won't get jail,
Yeah.
right? But if you
Although
jail, yeah, go
you,
on.
you get it for obscenity. I do remember Rodney Roode being arrested in Queensland for the amount of swears he had in his show.
Which he got off.
Oh, yeah, of course. But they did arrest
And he
him.
defended himself.
And they did imprison. Well, not in prison. They had him in lockup.
They had him in
And
lockup.
then he had to go to court. And, yeah, he did get off.
And he defended himself.
Yeah.
And he went as he walked into the courtroom, and everyone's going, "Oh, this is going to be a slam dunk and embarrassing." Because in his interview, he was going, "Yeah, you know," and all on the transcript it says laughing stupidly, cretinously, like an idiot.
Yeah.
And then he's gone into court and gone, "Well, Your Worship, you'll find," and then he's just like rattle off law, and he's rattled off federal law, and he's rattled off state law, and he's going, so the police were wrong on this, and this,
Yeah.
and they weren't invited into the premises, so technically, as it was a private premises, and there was no complaint made by the owner, nothing was happening. It's not a public venue, it's a private place, even though it says pub. It's not a public area, it's a private area. And so the judge, who would really have liked to have cut Rodney's balls off, went,
Yep.
Okay, case dismissed, go away.
Yep.
And Rodney said, no, I now want compensation.
Yeah.
And he grilled him for another hour and got his money.
I actually just looked it up. See, while the Queensland cops were chasing him, he also was arrested on obscenity charges in Western Australia, and he took it all the way to the Supreme Court. And little point of trivia: the copper who arrested him in Queensland ended up going to jail after the Fitzgerald inquiry into corruption in Queensland.
Couldn't have happened to a nicer bloke.
There. Rodney never went to priz, but the cop who arrested him went to priz for being a corrupt motherfucker.
And I'm sure he had a wonderful time in Gem Pop.
Oh, Christ. The cops and pollies who went to priz in Queensland, wonder what the fuck happened to them. But anyway.
Oh, they would have put in protection. There's no fucking way they would have put them in Gen Pop. They would have got torn apart first.
Oh, yeah, no, they'd be in solid. Hey, yo, I was just, this is completely unrelated to anything. I just thought I'd look at news headlines to see what's happening. And my hometown's in the news. Good old Dubbo in Western New South Wales. They're having a fight. The Dubbo Council is having a fight with the regional airline, Rex, Regional Express. Rex, in an escalation of their fight with the Dubbo City Council, sent letters to every household in Dubbo because the council's raising airport taxes, which Rex says is to an outrageous level, and they're threatening, because it's the only flights between Dubbo and Sydney run by Rex, and they're threatening to pull out. So Rex has threatened to cancel the flights between Dubbo and Sydney. The council, they've increased the passenger tax by 13%, which in an economic climate where we've almost got negative interest rates, that is a pretty sharp jump.
That's a lot. That's a lot because that's 13% on your plane ticket. So if you're on a regional airline, you can expect to minimum be paying $250, $300 minimum. It's not like a big city cheap seat ride. There are no cheap seats on the regionals because they're operating on very skinny margins, right? There's no fat in that system. They can't hedge fuel. They can't do a lot of the overhead saving things. They've got to do all in-house maintenance, and they can't get cheap parts. They've got to get tagged parts, and they can't make their parts in-house, which a lot of the bigger airlines can. And it's fucking expensive. So they're already on very tight margins. And 13%, fuck. It'll just destroy half their passenger take because the planes go from Bathurst to Dubbo to, is it Parkes? Or Parkes then Dubbo then back?
No, not Parkes. You crushed. You have
What's the other one? There's the three cities.
There's Orange and
Orange. Okay, so there's the Orange Airport. You can either go from Bathurst Airport to Orange Airport, and they pick up Dubbo, and then go straight to Sydney. They go
that's the flights. The one direct to do with direct Dubbo Sydney ones.
Yes, there's a couple, and there's the direct ones as well. So they can quite easily cut out the Dubbo portion and just service the other routes. And the Dubbites will have to drive all the way over to, and that'll be fucked. And you may as well just drive to Sydney, then you're halfway there.
So Rex is being pretty goddamn aggressive in their fight with the council.
Well, what are they going to? Anyway.
We
can talk about that for hours and talk about country life. Has Aidsy been to Dubbo? I have been to Dubbo on several occasions. A few times by force.
That sounds understandable. Yeah.
Yes. I've worked Dubbo lots of times.
That when you were doing touring shows?
Yeah, touring shows, and I've been to Dubbo as a comedian 4 times, and I've been to Dubbo as a juggler 5 times, 6 times. I was in a circus, and we got this gig with the zoos, and so we went to Dubbo and Sydney and Canberra, lots. And the biggest gig I ever played was in Canberra, and it was 14 hours long. It was basically
was that the rock festival one, or
overnight dance party.
Yeah. Okay.
And we were offered little helpers. At about
keep going all night.
Well, we had 4 spots to play. One of them was at 8 o'clock. The next one is at midnight. The next one was at 3 o'clock, and the last one was at 6 a.m. And so, at the end of it, we're just like, Papa's Little Helper really helped. That second gig was really fast. Really fast. And the last gig was very businesslike. Right. And then we all drove home. And I had no trouble sleeping when I got home.
I bet not. So I was asking how far Dubbo is from Sydney. It's about 400 kilometres. And it's almost like straight west from Sydney. So once you get past Dubbo, there is like fucking nothing.
That's where the red dust starts.
Yeah.
That's where the red dust starts.
Farmland, then you hit desert. There is, I guess there's Narromine, but there are tiny little towns.
Please don't say that. Come on. It's a clean show.
Once you go west of Dubbo, nothing but farms, desert, tiny towns until you hit Broken Hill.
I was going to say there's Broken Hill.
Yeah. So there's
Broken Hill Proprietary Limited. They're still a family company.
Fucking nowhere. It's and several highways cross over in Dubbo. That was one of our claims to fame. There were an enormous number of motels for a town the size of Dubbo, and that was because a bunch of highways crossed. The highway coming out of Sydney, going further west into Whoop Whoop, when in Dubbo, so it was a stop off for people going that way. If you were taking the inland route between Melbourne and Brisbane, Dubbo's at about the halfway mark. So lots of motels. What are you doing?
Whoop whoop for all our people living in
Yeah.
other countries is not a place.
It's a state of mind.
It's a description and a state of mind.
There is a
go on.
movie, Welcome to Whoop Whoop. Have you seen that?
I have.
It did not
It
get
is
rave
bad.
It's
very underrated. It's very
apparently
underrated.
like really flawed Americans to have lines like when the guys talk. I forget if he was talking about a stripper or just about having sex. He's going, "It's time to part the beef curtains," and
Yeah.
that was the filmmaker Paul Hogan, not the Put a Shrimp on the Barbie Paul Hogan.
Mm.
I think it was the filmmaker Paul Hogan, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And because he had,
Yes.
I'm going to look. I'm going to look up his oeuvre because he had a couple big films. Trying to get straight what his filmography. Oh my god, he's married to Jocelyn Moorhouse. Jesus, that's just like Australian film. Okay, yes, Crocodile Dundee. Was he Crocodile Dundee? No, that's Paul Hogan. Let me see his Wikipedia page. What movies did he make? Because he made a lot of movies. Okay. He did TV. Muriel's Wedding. That was his big breakthrough. Muriel's Wedding. No, wait, it's not. Well, it's not credited. Okay, I might be wrong. I might be thinking of the wrong person. Was it Baz Luhrmann? Who made Welcome to Whoop Whoop?
I do not. You've
Looking it up.
confused me now. It's easy to do.
I think I am confused. Welcome to Whoop Whoop. Directed by Stephen Elliott, who is famous for... What am I getting confused with?
Probably shouldn't pick my nose on camera.
Maybe. Oh, okay, yeah. I knew he did something big. Adventures of Priscilla, Queen of the Desert, which is a fantastic movie.
I don't like it. It's got homosexuals in it.
It really does. And because that made waves, he was being courted in Hollywood, and they were going like, "Oh, we love Priscilla, Queen of the Desert. Oh, we want to work with you. Have you done anything since then?" And he goes, "Yes, I have. Here's like a DVD of it." And they watched Welcome to Whoop Whoop, and apparently the universal response was, "Please leave the office. Please leave." Because they were so appalled by it, and it was just
and
like...
then Priscilla won a couple of Oscars, and they went, "Oh, you can come back in, Baz."
Yes, he did work. He did a lot of stuff. But I knew Welcome to Whoop Whoop was made by someone who'd made one really big film, and it was PJ Hogan. Yeah,
he actually made a couple of Hollywood movies, and they were okay. And then he made, of course, bloody Moulin Rouge, and he made Moulin Rouge, but he also did the Shakespeare Romeo and Juliet. There you go.
No, that's Baz Luhrmann as well.
I was saying Baz Luhrmann. I was talking about Baz Luhrmann.
We're not talking about Baz Luhrmann. We're talking about PJ Hogan, who made Priscilla, Queen of the Desert, and Welcome to Whoop Whoop.
You're talking about PJ Hogan.
But I'm the only one who counts. When did we segue to Baz Luhrmann?
No, do what you want. Do what you want. You can turn me off anytime you want.
I literally can. I literally can.
Can.
But, other great Australian filmmakers. That's mean. That's just mean.
Well, there's that great Australian film, The Divorce of Baby Boomers.
No, fucking George Miller.
All of them in the 70s and 80s.
Yes, the new wave Australian film. I rewatched Don's Party recently. It happened to be on TV, and I went, okay, this is a fucking Australian frozen in amber moment. I need to watch it. Fucking hell. Because it was a David Williamson play. David Williamson dominated Australian theatre in the 70s. And a couple of his plays got made into movies. Don's Party was probably the most successful.
And The Club.
Fuck, it's weird. The Club, I think I probably enjoyed The Club more than Don's Party. Don's Party's fucking weird.
it's really odd. It's really
Yeah.
odd, but it does really typify what used to happen on election night parties, and they
Yeah.
used to be very big here in Australia. Election night parties,
Yeah.
because you'd dress up and you'd go and you'd get fucking destroyed. At AZ, can he turn you on anytime he wants? Yes, he can.
I just thought
And
you'd
I
like that
feel
one.
dirty and wrong about it because he's abusive and nasty, and
Yeah.
I keep crawling back with my
You
stitches
love
not
it.
taken out
That's just the
and
way
my
you love
bruises not showing, and I go, do it to me,
it.
do it to me. Notice me, sensei. No,
Yeah.
it's not sensei. It's
Yeah, it is. Senpai, sorry. Yes.
senpai. Notice me, senpai.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Kohei needs you. Anyway, Kohei needs you.
Anyway.
Anyway, yeah, lost my train. I'm just angry. That's the trouble. I'm just bloody angry about a lot of things.
You did that really good rant to me. AZ sends me book length texts occasionally. And there
Because I
was
hate
one.
writing.
Yeah. Are
And
you
the
doing
first one
voice
you
text with that?
the first one you got was voice, and it was so shittily spelled. I then just typed out the next couple, and they're fucking long. It took me like 3 hours. Yeah, I was very, very angry.
And but I want you to share it with the people because what it was, there's been this year's Melbourne Cup. There's always people who protest the Melbourne Cup and say it's fucked and horse racing is exploitative and da-da. But it got extra fuel this year because of the a documentary the ABC aired a couple of weeks before, which basically
Revelations.
showed
Go on.
all the things that happen to the horses, the cruelty of the industry, how many, like just huge number of horses who are judged not worthy or no longer worthy, who are literally sent to the knackers. They're sent to the abattoirs, and high quality ones, their meat is sent to Europe for human consumption. Low quality ones are turned into pet food. And apparently, and that was your big rant because you were fucking annoyed at people who were just acting like they just heard this and where the fuck are they been?
How can you not fucking know what happened to these fucking horses? You fuck me. How is this not a thing? Right? This fucking TV show comes on and goes, oh, look at the terrible fate of these horses. Oh my God. And you just go, how did you not realize that at the end of their fucking life, because they're called wastage, what happens to wastage? Right? If you fucking have any fucking brain cells at all, you'll go, oh, maybe they're thrown away. Well, they're owned by fucking corporates, the same people who fucking fire a fifth of their fucking workforce at fucking random because they want to keep their fucking bonuses intact, right? These people run racing, right? The horses are not the focus of racing. What? No, they're basically just a sushi train to bring the fucking product to market. And the product is gambling and the framework that holds together fucking businesses that get together and make their fucking monopolies and duopolies in pretty marquees full of fucking champagne sipping fucking swine, fucking thugs in suits who wouldn't be able to get together in a business environment because that'd be illegal. But you're allowed to talk to some prick who's apparently your enemy at a fucking race meeting, fucking bimbos in nice fucking dresses trying to fucking preen up with a hat. No, the horses are basically fucking run around a track in fear with this tiny little stunted apprentice in fucking silk clothes because that makes it fucking cool, with a hat on the right way round, don't want no niggers here, hitting a fucking horse with a stick, and it goes round and round a couple of times and people make millions of bucks, and most people who are poor lose because they're fucking stupid. And then at the end of the horse's life, the fucking racing industry who bought land to make this real said, oh, the horses, then they're finished, they go off to a farm. The last time you heard that and believed it, you were fucking 4 when Rover and fucking Fifi were no longer around. They had to go to the farm. Well, guess what? The fucking horses go to the same farm because these corporate fucks are trying to suck out the last little piece of value from their fucking corporate input because they're managers. They go to management school. Any fucking industry is a fucking product line with inputs and fucking outputs and can be marketed the same way. Doesn't matter if it's toothpaste or cars or fucking sex slaves. It's all the same thing. It's just a fucking product to be sold and a fucking market value to be fucking measured. And so these horses are fucking cut up to bits. And good old Angry was saying, oh, the high quality ones go to the humans and the poor quality ones go for pets. They don't give a fuck. It's just horses going off to fucking wogs overseas. They don't give a fucking shit. And people are now getting outraged at the treatment of these fucking horses. Wake the fuck up. They do this to people. Why the fuck wouldn't they do it to horses? And I'm spent.
Good.
I'm going to
See,
line
I
my
knew you wanted
charters.
to get that out of your system. You had a
Thank you
couple
very much.
stresses during the week. Now it's out of your system, which is a fine and glorious. See, now you're all zen. It's perfect.
Not quite. I'm still pissed. But and there's other things, but I'll just let them go for now.
Oh, that's all right. That's a solid decision to just let it go. I'm speaking of decisions. I'm deciding I'm going to make a cocktail.
You speak to the cocktail who like Ozzy has the next medicine, and I'm just going to do this. I
Yeah.
know this now. Just leave me up, and I'll come back randomly.
All right.
I'll say
All right.
that I'm coming back, and then I'll give you some camera work. So first, I'm going to do this, and you can still hear me because there I am. And now I'm going to go.
Now I can't hear you. Now you're gone. Okay. Heist. I think AIDSy you're asking, did AIDSy mean people get shipped off to be cut up and fed to people? I think AIDSy has shipped people off to be cut up and fed to people. I think that's what's happened. I'm not sure there's a huge industry in international cannibalism. I just think that AIDSy has personally been involved in shipping people off to be cut up and fed to other people. That just seems like a thing that will happen. I'm trying to decide what to make for a cocktail. I think I might even just make a simple classic, like one of my all-time favorites, the Sidecar. Oh wow, Line Spider? You watched an incel video that's sent to watch. Yeah, AIDSy wants to do the thing to rescue the incels, actually. Adele, you came in halfway through AIDSy's rant. Watch it back sometime. It's pretty funny. He really went hell for leather on that one. Yes, AIDSy is part of the international Soylent Green trade. Soylent Green is people. Here's a weird thing, because the movie Soylent Green came out in the 70s. Charlton Heston was the lead. He did a lot of sci-fi films in the 70s. Soylent Green, Planet of the Apes, Omega Man, a lot of which is could be construed as left-wing political messages. Certainly a lot of it was like anti-war and anti-violence. And Charlton Heston himself was very right-wing, like ended up being head of the NRA and all that sort of thing. And it was kind of interesting that you get stars who are right-wing in like the 70s being in movies that have quite left-wing things. But then more recently, like 80s on, most action films and most sci-fi films were either sort of neutral or fairly actively right-wing in their message. And you get people like George Clooney, who's left-wing, but doing a bunch of movies where the hero he's portraying is like a right-wing hero. Hollywood's weird like that. Outdated pharmacology. Why do I think Aussie workers still believe lies BS conservative politicians? Because they are constantly barraged day in and day out by a conservative media that tells them all the stuff that the LNP is telling him is true. You get a huge chunk of the population who can't tell the difference between what's like in Murdoch-owned media, what's in broadcast media, what's in print media, and what comes out of conservative politicians. And honestly, I can't. I lose track of are these media things just like a publicity front for the conservative politicians, or are the conservative politicians a publicity front for the conservative media owners? It's very hard to tell, but that is one of the reasons that you get the pollies getting away with their blatant lies. It's not simply because they're not challenged in the media. It's because their message is aggressively reinforced in the media. Yeah, I agree with you, Adele. I don't really get into doing in the sweeps or betting or dressing up or anything. Melbourne Cup is just sort of like the emblem of it. Fox, you're always coming up with cocktails. What was your cocktail idea you mentioned? Oh, wait a sec. I see it. A Labour Party cocktail. Yellow. Something yellow for the cowards in power, something like a sweet red vermouth for the rich, and something. Okay, I'm liking. Oh, AIDS's back. No, wait.
Agree. Bloody Melbourne Cup's the race that stops a bloody nation. Be Australian. Be bloody proud of it. If a young little fella wants to hit a fucking horse with a stick while wearing pointy clothes, he's allowed to. Make your bloody Labour Party cocktail if you want to. Make it red and black.
Yeah. It's. I'm going to do a variation on what Fox has said here. Something yellow for the coward bastards in power. Something like sweet red vermouth. I'm going to put cognac for the rich, actually, and something blue for the working class. My blue absinthe, maybe. Oh, speaking of overpowered absinthe, I actually, because Facebook knows I'm a rampant alcoholic and just keeps feeding me nonstop ads for alcohol products.
They don't feed me Coke, do they?
Yeah.
Just saying.
One of the recent ones, a retailer who wants you to do online ordering, they had among their range weirdly flavored absinthe, which I thought was interesting. And then I looked at it, and it's not just with like fruit of the forest absinthe. It's 90% alcohol. So I haven't ordered any yet, but I think I'm going to have to. It's also this really neat, long, skinny bottle as well.
If it's 90% alcohol, it's probably less aniseed. I could probably have some.
I'm sure it's got aniseed in it, but like I said, these are flavored, which is very uncommon for absinthe. It's got fruity. We'll see.
All right, 90% alcohol, it'd have to be bloody flavored.
Wouldn't it, though? Wouldn't it? That's a very small amount.
My tongue. Burning on my tongue. That's because it's on fire.
Yeah. Right. I have to get some pieces together.
While he's getting pieces together, Angry asked me to have a look at the Labour Party post-mortem in the elections of the Australian federal elections that we had earlier this year. It was expected to be a Labor win.
An easy Labor win, probably.
An easy Labor win, because the right-wing government was wildly fucked. Tanked the economy. They switched around their prime minister several times, and the last one ended up being a rampant right-wing Nazi Christian who is in a church started by a pedophile and is deeply into burning homosexuals and keeping bitches in the kitchen. Good on. And I never begrudge a man a hair plug, so I'm not hassling him for that. Anywho, it was expected to be an easy Labor win. Unfortunately, they fucked up royally, as it turned up, and it started actually a few years ago. The strategy that was in place early on was the correct one, is say nothing, because the guy that was in at the time was the best thing that they had going for them. And then they expected him to be in for another year, but he wasn't. He got nailed, this Prime Minister, by a very charismatic guy who effectively started putting in the policies of the left-wing party, which fucked them right up. They had nowhere to go. And they didn't strategize the three most likely other prime ministers, which every party should do, every opposition should do all the time, right? You should always have on dossier the three most likely next prime ministers in case there's a spill, because you've got to be ready in politics to change your tactics immediately, right? You've got to be ready to turn that ship around on a dime. And that's the trouble with a political party. It is like turning a ship. And if you're weighed down with policies, which you're supposed to be, you're supposed to have policies. You're not supposed to just have slogans, which a certain government did. You're supposed to be able to turn that on a dime, and they couldn't. And they fucking didn't have anything, and they were pretty well fucked for a year. Happily, the fascists said, no, don't like it. And this charismatic liberal prime minister was just ground down, and then they shot him. And he said, fuck yous, I'm going home. Yous can lose the election. And they were heading toward it. But then they said, what we'll do is we'll lie and we'll cheat and we'll lie lots, and we'll use our friends in the media, which is all of them, to tell lies. And just before the election happens, we'll scare all of the old people into thinking all their money's going to go away by lying to them. And we have already lulled the young people into not voting at all because we haven't spoken to them. And if you don't speak to young people, they ignore you. Because they've been trained from advertising to be coddled and tickled and cajoled. And if you don't do anything, don't do any of that, they don't do anything. So they had that in the bag. And then and this blew my mind, right? This is beautiful. They made people in the regions and outer suburbs scared that they might lose their jobs because they were already on tenuous ground. And I, in my head, was going, why are they on tenuous ground, guys?
Yeah.
Have you thought that through?
No.
Have you thought about why your job is in trouble?
Yeah.
Right? Maybe the government fucked it. And if you vote them in again, they're going to fuck you again. And they will. And these guys will lose their jobs, and it will go tits up. And they'll go, but you said. Because every time this election happens also, this government goes out to the west of Sydney. And it's very important to go out to the west of Sydney because 1 in 19 people in Australia is in Western Sydney, right?
Yeah.
That puts governments in and out, that number. And in Australia, every adult over 18 votes. It's a compulsory vote. Why is it a compulsory vote? What kind of democracy is that? It's one where the citizenry is responsible for the government they put in. So effectively, we get the government we deserve, and fuck, didn't we this time? So this fascist started straight away. His first thing out of the gate is, you're not allowed to say protesting our business because we'll put you in jail. And it's like, well, that's the first thing he's done. What's next? And he'll go much further than that. We've already got problems like our Navy is up in the Torres Strait, all of it. All of the Navy is in the Torres Strait doing something. Initially, it was to stop boats, which, Angry can tell you about later. But now, who fucking knows what they're doing out there? It costs us $100,000 a day to put one of these big ships in the water. And they've been up there for years. All of them. They're building new ships. We don't know where the submarines are. There's 4 based over in Sydney, and there's 4 or 5 based over in Western Australia. And they're building a whole new fleet of them. They won't be ready for a couple of years. But they're not getting rid of the old ones, right?
Yeah.
And when you look at pictures of where they are in Sydney and where they are in Western Australia, there's only 2 or 3 in there. They're not all lined up. They're gone. They're somewhere else. Now, the idea of a submarine is it's supposed to run away. You're not supposed to see it. It's supposed to do stuff. But, you know, fair enough. You don't tell them where the submarines are if they're doing something dodgy in Australia. You're doing something dodgy.
Yeah.
But all of them are gone. That's not right. And so, you know, I just pointed out because it's the kind of shit that they pull.
Yes.
And fucking these people in the west of Sydney, every fucking time there's a federal election on, they do these town hall meetings.
Hey, I'm just going to interrupt you for a second because I want to make a cocktail and explain what I'm doing. So as per Fox's suggestion, something very yellow for the cows, and I also think Labor's weak as piss. So this is called Liquor 43. It's like a vanilla sort of floral type thing. It's very nice. It's very sweet. So we'll put some of that. And look, I've got this. This is Australian. This is an Australian-made spirit. It's macadamia nut. A macadamia nut liqueur. Can't get much more Australian than that. A macadamia nut liqueur. So we're going to have some macadamia nut liqueur in here, which is also yellowish brown. In fact, most of what I'm putting in here is like a yellowish, orangey brown color. And as you said, to represent, it's like, how can I be criticizing? This is to represent the rich pricks, a thing that I've got that I've drunk a lot of. So yeah, wait, that falls down a bit. So I'm going to put some cognac in.
It's all right. I'll be the little match girl. Can I have some of your cognac, sir?
No, little match girl, go away before I call the police. You're interfering with Australian business.
Oh, of course.
Right. And for the blue of the working class, a little bit of absinthe, which is, you know, just what the working class needs, a bit of absinthe in their life.
Well, unless they go crazy, start killing prostitutes.
Start axe murdering the bosses. It's just like, hey, wait, none of us like the boss. Let's put him through the bloody press.
The rich will eat themselves.
There was a really funny article this week. Some rich prick, like some really big, rich old family multi-billionaire going, and he's saying, oh, the thought of the poor rising up is like keeping me awake at night. And like, good motherfucker, we're coming. We're coming.
Yeah, because they've been trained to do that. I was speaking to a kid and telling him about the difference between a protest and demonstration. He says, I don't think I like the idea of demonstration. It doesn't sound nice.
Often is not nice.
Anyway, while you're shaking that up, I'll finish what I was saying. Basically, these pricks on the right go out to the Western Sydney every fucking time there's an election. They have these town hall meetings, and the candidates get up, and these arcane right-wing liberal guys. They're not liberal in the sense that they're left-wing; they're right-wing.
Liberal party,
fucking thing. So the right-wing guys get up and say, "Oh, you guys are underprivileged, and you need a few new roads and a few new rail lines and trains, and you need 3 more hospitals." And the Westies go, "Yeah," and then they put them in, and then they go, "Where's our hospitals and roads and trains?" And then they always go, "Well, it's not going to happen this year because, you know, budget woes. And then it doesn't happen. It never fucking happens. And then next time it comes round, they go to the town hall meetings. Oh, you need stuff. Yeah, give us stuff. You know, and it's like, bend over, Western Sydney. You fucking, if you're going to keep on taking it up the arse, you know, you deserve it. You know, you call everyone fags, but really, who's the fag? You let liberals fuck you all the time, or the right wing fuck you all the time. Don't. Hey, Americans, vote your incumbent pricks out of office. You can do it. How's your cocktail, Angry?
It's really good. It's doing that thing where it's not really showing a true color on it. It is a really quite nice emerald green in real life.
Ah.
And it's quite a treat to taste.
Do you have an incandescent powered flashlight?
No, I do not.
Because I was going to say, if you shone that through your cocktail, it would
Yes.
go green on the camera. But the other thing you could do is get you get a red or a yellow piece of plastic and stick it over an LED bright light and stick it up. Stick it up your cocktail, right up there like a proctologist sticking it. I'm getting fantasies again.
Thought that's what you were thinking of there.
Yeah. Oh, my prostate's terrible. You should check it. That's me bending over to get my prostate checked. No, check it again. Keep checking. So anyway, yeah, that'd make it emerald green.
Yeah. Adele and Stella are talking about Australian-made gins. And in fact, on the weekend, Mrs. Angry and I went past Geelong, Bellarine Peninsula, where my favourite cider is made. There's a cidery called the Flying Brick cider place. They make a range of ciders. The standard is the classics. It's like sweet dry draft sort of thing, and they normally have a special one. And they actually had two special ones. One that they call apple pie, and it just had the spices like cinnamony and other things that you put in an apple pie in it, which is nice. And they had another one that had fucking chili and ginger in it, which didn't actually touch. So I don't know what that was like, but one of the things we did, because we were just looking for things to do up there, and there's a relatively new place called the Whiskery, because the guy who started it has a huge old mustache thingy coming out here, and they make their own gin, and they will eventually be bringing out whiskey, but of course, because you have to age whiskey for several years, so you don't have to age gin, you just fucking
straight out of the bathtub and right to you.
Although they do have one that they store in, because that's wine country there. Every fucking 5 feet as you drive down the road in that area is another fucking winery. The place we stayed at was a winery. People who follow me on the social medias would have seen the pictures I posted. It's very nice. But I'm not into wine. But yeah, these guys at the gin place, besides their straight gin, they get barrels from the winemakers, and they sit the gin in it for a couple of months, and so it takes on a pink hue because it was a red wine barrel, and it takes on a little bit of the flavor because of the stuff that's soaked into the barrel. So they have this pink gin as well. So we went there and did a gin tasting, and the guy sort of explained their whole process and what they put in it, because gin is just basically what's the oh god, my brain's just gone blank. What's the berry that's the base of gin? Juniper berry.
And other botanicals, and the botanicals are always a secret.
Yeah, so all you've got to do for something to classify as gin is to have a juniper base and be over 40% alcohol. So
what
and
do you
then
make the alcohol out of?
House specialty, yeah.
What you make the alcohol out of is up to you, which I love.
Preferably, you make it out of ethanol, not methanol.
Yeah, preferably ethanol. But what you make, what plant you start with is.
Oh yeah. Sometimes, it can be all sorts of different sources for it. Yeah. So it's basically a clear spirit with a juniper base, and then whatever botanicals are your house thing.
And you can luck out and make some fucking amazing gin, like sapphire gin.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you see, even at a relatively pedestrian place like Dan Murphy's, they'll have 20 different gins, 30 different gins, all slightly different flavors. But was Fox of Fate saying, he had some green apple and hibiscus gin, which he liked? He thinks it's just green apple, didn't really taste any hibiscus. I don't know what hibiscus tastes like, so yeah. I think Adele's threatening to make bathtub gin, but anyway.
Do you remember? Oh, sorry. Do you remember Justified?
Oh yes, yes.
Justified was
With their moonshine.
with a story about the Deep South and
Yes.
very violent, very cool. And there was one particular storyline where this criminal matriarch was giving people her special apple pie, applejack,
Moonshine. Yeah.
moonshine, and drink it. And she'd go, "Don't worry, the poison's in the glass, not in the applejack, in
Yeah.
the moonshine." And it tastes like apple pie, and it's really lovely. And these people would die in front of her. And there's a surprising twist ending to that, which I won't
Yeah.
spoil.
Because it is one of the moments. Did I tell
But
you?
yeah, apple
Sorry.
pie, moonshine.
Did
Very
I
nice.
tell you she's in the animated series BoJack Horseman? But as herself,
Oh,
because BoJack keeps getting her in on schemes because she's such a convincing character actress
right.
that she can be anyone that BoJack wants her to in a particular scam. So, so
Makes sense.
she's actually in BoJack Horseman, but as herself as a character actress, which is just.
That's very meta, isn't it?
BoJack is a very meta show. It's very God. Safa's asking, can you get good cheap gin? Don't know, Safa. It depends what you mean by good. Do you mean good as in enough alcohol to dissolve your teeth as you drink it? Yes, you can get that.
Plenty of that.
You know what we could do as the test one day? Because I've got
that?
like one of those Brita water filters. You're supposed to be able to put cheap, horrible spirits like vodka or gin through it. And if you put it through enough time, because, what do they do to make all the spirits cheaper? They filter them. They talk about the whiskeys being charcoal filtered. If you put cheap and nasty spirits through a Brita filter enough times, I've heard anywhere between 3 and 7 times, it gradually smooths it out. And it tastes much, much better because a cheap gin or a cheap vodka tastes like fucking metho, basically.
Oh, motor oil. I've sniffed a cheap vodka, inhaled the vapors, and it's not bad. It'll give you that inhalant feeling. Then I huffed paint as well.
I do remember many years ago. It's like 25 years. Was it that long ago? No, it wasn't that long ago. But it was 15 plus years ago, where I was not in the best mood and was essentially looking for like a vodka sleeping tablet because I wasn't in a good mood. And I was in the bottle shop and I was thinking, the whole thing is vodkas. You're not meant to be able to taste it. So why don't I buy this really cheap Australian vodka they've got there? And you know what? You could fucking taste it no matter what you mixed it with. And the taste was bad. It was very, very bad.
It tastes like nastiness, Mummy.
Yes.
I know.
It tastes like the devil's tears.
It tastes like razors. Tastes like Christian charity.
Yeah.
Doesn't taste like methadone.
Yes.
Oh, that's a cheeky little vintage, that is. Yeah. Sorry?
There are quality Australian gins, Australian whiskies, Australian vodkas.
Don't get me wrong.
It's a little special one.
There's quality Australian methadones as well. Sorry, you go on.
Sure there is. You've got to get the right vintage, though. That
At the moment, in my chemist, we're on a cheeky little vintage, north side of the hill. Tastes like shit, hate, and Christian charity. Have a crack at Boris Yeltsin vodka. That will punt you. It has a few times. I've looked down and gone, I'm a woman. After drinking Boris Yeltsin. I was tricked into drinking Boris Yeltsin by a guy who said, this is Boris Yeltsin. And I went, okay, I'll drink it. And I said, hang on, this is Boris Yeltsin. Just as my ears were melting through my eyes. and I kept on breathing in a hallucination of time that tasted blue. And then I woke up. I'd eaten my clothes, and that was a half
Yeah,
hour.
you were all furry
And
down here.
I was masturbating into the police hat of a
Yeah,
copper who was laughing and laughing and laughing because I breathed on him.
yeah,
And then he vomited on me, and then I vomited my clothes out, which is great because I could put them on.
yeah.
Very cold. And then he set me on fire, and I was appreciative of that because cold.
'Cause you were cold. Yeah,
Then I blacked out.
yeah.
Anyway,
That sounds completely normal. Yeah, yeah.
well,
What?
I actually did try recently, and I'll shut up after this.
No, go for it.
I saw on Shield, in fact,
Yeah.
this hard man Russian, and he took some salt, vodka, and then sniffed a piece of onion after it.
Ah,
And
yes. Yes,
I
I heard
went,
that was on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Yes.
yeah, right. And so then a mate of mine said, "Oh, I've done this and it's bizarre. It actually works." And I hate onions. And he said, "You want to give it a go?" And I went, "Oh, you got to try everything once." And I fucking hate onions. So
Mm.
it's a quite a bit of salt, and and then a vodka, and you don't slam it down, but you do drink it quickly. So you let it roll on your tongue and down your throat, and with the salt, it doesn't burn as much, but you feel it. You really feel it, and then you sniff the onion, and then it all comes alive, and the vodka, you know, explodes into you, and you can sort of feel it hit your nerves, and then and you don't really smell the onion. It just like lifts the vodka, the burning, nasty, acid reflux goes away, and then all the vodka goes, bah, and it's like, yes, I will now kill foxes, and we will be the wolf of Siberia. And you know why they wear those hats? Because, you can. It's like Scotsmen in the kilts. If you can, you do. And,
Yeah.
if you drink vodka and smell the onion, you can wear the hat. All
Yes.
yours, Angry.
No, that's okay. You remind there's a American comedian, Bert something, and he has this whole routine about when he was much younger on a train in Siberia with Rush. Bert Kreischer. And he's guys, he's basically, you know, our physique essentially, and he has a real
So
habit of taking,
thin and sexy.
yeah, and he has a real habit of taking his shirt off during his shows and just letting the audience take it all in. Yeah, his hair, he's about your level. He's hairier than me. He's about your level of hairy.
Not
And
very hairy.
no,
I used to
but
be.
no, he's not super hairy. But he has. If you want a really weird story and a good laugh, look up Bert the Machine, the Russian mafia story, because he ends up on a train with guys that turn out to be Russian mafia, and they're all drinking vodka. And I think he was still a university student at the time, and they think an American's going to be a real lightweight, and he actually keeps up with them like shot for shot, and like all his higher faculties are fucking gone because he's drinking Russian vodka with Russian mobsters. But they love him because he's keeping pace with them. And it's a funny story, and it goes in weird places because he's getting super fucking drunk with Russian mobsters on a train going through Siberia. So if you want a bit of a laugh, look that up. Bert the Machine. You don't have to worry about his last name; it's Kreischer. But yeah, the Russian mafia story. It's absolutely surreal.
I've got a bit of trivia for you, Angry.
Yeah, give it.
Okay, there's two very long train lines in the world, right? That
Yeah,
go straight. They go
yes,
really straight.
yeah,
There's can't even, the Trans-Pacific,
yes,
not Trans-Pacific, the Indian Pacific,
yes,
in Australia. It
yes,
goes from Western Australia, Perth to Sydney, and for a
yes,
long time there, for thousands of kilometres, it's very dead straight, right?
yes,
And then there's the Trans-Siberia,
yes,
and it's clearly a longer span, but for some unknown reason, toward the three-quarter point, it goes off on a 350 kilometer kinky bend. There's no mountains, there's no
Yeah.
swamps, there's nothing in the way, but it just goes off, right? There's no towns, there's nothing there for it to go to. It just goes in a corner, around in the corner, and then goes
Yeah.
straight again, right? If it didn't have that kink in it, it would be clearly the longest piece of straight railway in the world and would piss all over the Indian Pacific. But the Russians tell us what happened was when the Tsar was telling everybody which way the railway should go, they had a kink in his ruler. He had a chip out of his ruler, and that was it. And who would say the Tsar was wrong? So, of course, that's wrong. They think actually what happened was there was a gulag there, and they didn't want anyone to see it. But we'll never know.
Yep, I'm just looking at it on a map. The Trans-Siberian Railway is really fucking long.
Isn't it fucking big? You look at it and go,
really long. It goes from Moscow to Vladivostok.
Yeah.
It crosses.
And as soon as it gets sort of out into the bush, it just goes straight through. Because there's fucking nothing to do. I don't imagine that drinking fucking Russian mobsters under the table on the Trans-Siberian fucking railway would be, too odd, because 3 or 4 days in, you're just going, I am fucking totally fucking off my mind, because all I'm seeing is snow and fir trees. There's just nothing there. I'm just going nuts. You could only eat borscht for lunch so many times and just go, I would like to get off this train, but if I do, there's nothing around for 4,000 kilometers and I'll die. So, you, the Russian mobster, do you want to get pissed and tell fucking violent stories? Because I got a few. So that's what you do. Yeah.
At least there's slightly more variety than on the Indian Pacific or on the Garn in Australia. The Garn goes up the middle, goes from Adelaide up to Darwin. It's thousands of kilometers of desert, and it's flat and it's featureless. My favorite story I heard way back, and this is back in the days of film cameras. The Indian Pacific in particular was popular with a particular sort of Japanese tourist, and they would take time-stamped photos. They had this is pre-digital, but you could do a thing that would put a timestamp on the photo, and they would take hundreds of photos of nothing, but they were all time-stamped so they could show people this was 12 hours of nothing. Like, you don't get 5 minutes of nothing in Japan. It's so fucking urbanized. Everything's so close. And that's a mild exaggeration. But you sure as shit don't get 12 hours of nothing.
Well, fucking the greater Tokyo, not Tokyo little city, but greater Tokyo, has the population of Australia in it.
Yes.
Right? And so, it's why you see so many movies and manga of fucking Japan, and you always see Mount Fuji in the background. It's because everywhere is fucking Tokyo.
Yes.
And then you get to Osaka and it's fucking huge as well. Kyoto, not so much, but Tokyo, fucking enormous. And of course, as soon as you get out of Tokyo, up to the north, you got mountains. Up to the west, you got mountains. Up to the east, you got sea. And up to the south, you've got Kyoto, then Osaka, then the sea, and Mitsubishi, which is a city, and Toyota, which is a city, and a few of them. So, yes, people get on the Australian trains. Hey, Megaleech, how you going, man?
In for the last 10 minutes, mate. That's all right.
No, you can't piss on Russian trains when they dock at the train station. You have to go inside the train station. You do. In fact, you used to have to do that in Australian trains as well.
Yes, the train that used to go between Dubbo and Sydney, the overnight train was the mail train. It literally, we called it the mail train, but it was literally delivering mail between Sydney and Dubbo and all parts in between. Ran overnight and was a slow diesel train. Took a very long time. I think it's 12 hours to go 400 kilometers. You'd leave in the afternoon and arrive in the morning in whichever way you're going. And there was a little sign about don't use the toilets while standing at the station. And I remember once as a kid, I didn't really know why they said that. I remember once as a kid, I think my grandparents were going thing, and the train was sitting there for ages, and I just had to. I had to like take a dump. And I ran into the train and took a dump while it was standing at the station, and then came out. And then I realized as I was doing it, because all these things, there was no cistern or there was no septic tank on these trains. It was just a hole through the bottom of the train. So the idea is you do it while the train's in motion and it just hits the tracks and breaks up and whatnot. But if you do it at the station, you are dumping a shit at the station. And yeah, and then sure enough, the train pulled away and dumped a shit right there in front of everyone. And I was like, okay.
And then there's an announcement on the train. Ladies and gentlemen, just reminding you, please don't use the toilets while in the train, in the station.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, you get on Australian trains and they go for hours and hours. The Melbourne to Sydney is a 12-hour run. The Indian Pacific is a 3 or 4 day run. Hey, random topic that I wanted to get some opinions on. If you have a date with a guy to dinner and movies and he shows up dressed in a t-shirt and shorts, is it snobbish to think that that's slack? Depends on the season. If it's summer and really hot, maybe.
Now, I'm going to go with, seriously, particularly if it's a first date if you're at the trying to impress someone stage, make a fucking effort. Make a fucking effort.
Make an effort.
It's because it's a sign, honestly. Basically, if you're on a date where you're still trying to make an impression, male or female, if the person does anything shitty, if they're like slack, lazy, rude to someone, it's this huge fucking neon sign like, oh my God, they should be trying to impress you at this point. And if they can't even do that, then further down the line, they're just going to be so much worse.
Yeah, not going to get better. And the whole waiters thing is a good way to red flag someone.
Best way.
It's you could pick up so many things. You see people, like clicking their fingers at waiters.
Yeah.
When they get given stuff like, fuck off. And yeah, the other thing they'll do is that they'll talk TMI in front of waiters or waitresses or wait staff, and they don't realize that wait staff have ears.
Yes.
And your story about your swollen vagina is about to become the talk of the kitchen, along with much laughter, and you might get your dessert in a funny shape. All this stuff. Bar people have ears. Bouncers have ears.
Yes.
And you go through your life thinking that all these NPCs don't matter. They really do. If you're gonna go on a first date, the trick is to communicate. You don't go on a first date with someone without talking to them, right?
Yeah.
And one of the things that you've got to do, and I'm talking guys, I'm talking girls, I'm talking everyone, is you got to manage expectations. You've got to manage your own expectations, and you've got to manage their expectations. So you basically let them know where you're going, what's expected, and how you'll meet them. What will you be wearing so I will know to pick you out in a crowd?
Oh God, yeah. If you say that and they say I'm wearing shorts and a t-shirt, go, don't bother.
Yeah, no, you're not wearing that. You're not wearing that at all. You're going to be wearing jeans, covered shoes, and a shirt with a rose or a flower on it. That's what you're going to be wearing. That's
what Stella actually followed up with saying. She's not asking for a fucking tuxedo, like jeans and a collared shirt, for fuck's sake. Just make the smallest effort. And that is the smallest fucking effort, honestly.
But you can, see, the thing is you can negotiate, right? Because I've been in that situation, and he told me, oh no, you'll be wearing blah. And I went, oh, it's fucking hot. I'll be wearing my very best cargo shorts with my good boots on and my sexy shirt on. You'll love it. It's perfect. Don't worry. And he did. I look fabulous. And so we went to the movies, had a bite to eat, and then we had a bite to eat. So, communicate. Don't surprise anyone with a shitty surprise. The idea is you're supposed to be surprising people with delightful surprises, right? You surprise people with a treat. One of the things that sets Australians and the people from the United States apart is that the guy's expected to bring the nice lady a gift.
That always weirds me out.
Yeah. The Australian chicks and the American chicks are often fucking scratch fight over that. Because the Australian chicks go, look, if you like him, just root him. What's the fucking problem? And the American chicks are going, no, he's got to jump through the hoops. He's got to show that he respects you. And
Yeah.
then, if a guy doesn't give you something on the date, then he doesn't get nothing. And the Australian chicks will invariably go, oh, we've got words for girls to do that here. And then it's on. Because, of course, prostitution is illegal in the United States. And, of course, here it's quite legal, as long as it's in brothels and you don't have slaves in there. So, it's cultural. But if you're a guy and you're seeing a lady, there's nothing wrong with bringing a treat, okay? And a good trick is to bring a chocolate bar, like a block of chocolate. And I thought we might enjoy this together, right? Get something like Top Deck. It's got white and brown in it, use something for everyone.
Yeah.
And don't get anything with nuts in it or different flavors, because they, don't get mint. They might not like it. Snacks always a cheeky little addition for later. One of those that I like. Anyway, so then what you do is you open it up and you, the guy, hold it. And this works always. This is the chip phenomenon as well. And she'll say, oh, I'll have a little bit, but not much. And then just offer a bit to her and she'll take off a little bit and eat it. And she might take off a little bit more later. This is a good trick and works very well in your favor. And I shall explain all this later. Later on in a relationship, you'll find yourself in a cafe or bar with friends and you'll have a bowl of chips or some wedges or something that you, the guy, have bought for yourself to eat because you're hungry. And then she will go, can I have some of yours? Oh, sure, but I can buy you a bowl of chips or wedges or whatever. And she goes, no, I just want some of yours. Well, I'll buy you some. No, I just want some of yours. Don't argue. Offer once, and then when she says she wants one of yours, go, okay, sweetie, here you go. She won't take much. She'll take a few. And what's going on is hardwired into most people's brains, in fact. What she is showing everybody assembled is that she is allowed to have your resources at her whim. She's allowed to take your food from your plate, from your pile, right? And not get growled at or slapped at or killed. Whereas anyone else taking food will get growled at and slapped at and killed. And it's a very deep wide thing. It's social evolution. It's showing everyone her ownership of your resources. One way to piss her right off is giving money to another woman friend and letting her know later. She will do her fucking riz, because what you've effectively done is given her resources to another woman. And she won't even know why she's fucking angry, but that's what it is. You've given her resources to another woman, especially if she's got a kid. And that's not a good look. That's fucking, that'll get you a slapping. So know these little things, these little tricks and tips, because it'll help further your relationship. Let her show ownership of your resources, and let her express physical ownership as well, which she'll find her more affectionate in crowds of other women. One of the things I saw, which was brilliant, was a photograph of comedians in a pub and their spouses and significant others. and all the comics were given it a bit of smile, and all their chicks were given it a bit of hug crush, because they'd found theirs, and you can all fuck off. And it was really, it was physically very obvious. And the more famous the comic was, the tighter she was hanging on. It was all, it was pretty cool. So yeah, that's just the thing. We'll do this more formally in front of
Yeah,
audience.
again, because I noticed Safa in there was saying, please give me dating advice. There is a plan to do
There is
that.
a plan, Safa.
We will dedicate at
Mhm.
least an entire live stream to that very topic. This is because Aiden is on a mission since he found out about the incels, and he wants to save them because they're on the wrong path.
Well, because people fucking hassle them because they're turds, and they are. But no one's actually ever sat them down and said, this is what you do. All they've ever done is gone and smash your head against the wall. I want you to do the vagina on pee-pee. And then have done it wrong. You can effectively do that, but if you do it right, you'll be fine. Wetness will abound. But what's happened is they haven't been shown, they haven't been told, they haven't been guided, and they just get bitter and horrible really quickly, and then they, it's bullshit. Beta male. They make up words for things that aren't real. There is no friend zone. It's not a real thing. It's just lies from men. If you want to have the sex, tell her early. Just say sex is really important to you, and I think you're wonderful. So maybe later it'll be great.
Yeah, I was
Can I buy another drink?
Yeah, I was relaying to Mrs. Angry the other day why I like one of the video games. I like the Borderlands series. They're fun. They're shoot 'em ups, and they've got a fun sense of humor and good characters. And there was one, the third major one, which they called the pre-sequel, because it was set between Borderlands 1 and Borderlands 2. So it was a prequel to Borderlands 2, but a sequel to Borderlands 1. So they called it the pre-sequel. And it was made primarily by an Australian company. So there were a lot of Australian voice actors, but they weirdly did really fucking bad sort of Monty Python Australian accents. Some weird joke they had within the production house with the Australian catcher. Jesus, Struth, what's going on there, Cobber? Whack the diddle-o.
Whack the diddle-o, indeed, do.
Yeah. But
fair suck of the slab, you cunt.
Yeah. There's a location called Drongo Springs, and but there was one character. She was one you had to interact with a lot. Because she was good with weapons and machines. And she was gay, as it turns out. And there was this one super weird character. And the weird thing about the pre-sequel is it's being told backwards. It opens with a cinematic of a bad person who's being captured by the heroes, and they're saying, what happened? And they're going, well, it happened like this. And then you're playing the one that they've captured, and you're relating the story back. So the game plays out is a story. So every now and then there's a voiceover of someone who's saying, yeah, but why did that happen? Or what was that? And there's this one super weird character who runs a Thunderdome type thing. Huge sort of steroid crazed guy. And everything's extreme. And he's always screaming. And it's just like, and he comes into the pre-sequel, and within the game, he tries to hit on the gay female. And she says, oh, sorry, I'm not interested. I don't go that way. And he goes, oh, no, friend zoned again. And then he comes in as voiceover, him from the future, because this story's being related. He goes, I just want everyone to know, I know the friend zone isn't real. It's a construct made up from bitter people who can't relate properly to people they want to get romantically involved with. It's just like, it's absolutely surreal.
Yes.
It's weird. He just
beautiful.
The way he does it, just, oh no, friend zone to get, and he's not friend zoned. A lesbian just told him to go to hell. And but then
no friend zone there.
And he excuses himself by coming in voiceover going, I just want everyone to know that the friend zone's not actually real. I was just speaking out of bitterness. It was just so weird.
That's fucking awesome. That is fucking awesome.
That's it. Heist knows what I'm talking about. Mr. Talk, that's his name. Because he runs the sort of demolition derby Thunderdome thing.
Of course.
Yeah. Anyway, I think it's time for bed.
We've gone over time again, and you're wearing jammies and I'm not. and I should be where we're
I'll bring
going.
that is here's a safety tip, boys and girls. Microwaved cauliflower is fucking hot. Because I was having a frozen meal and it had veggies in it because I'm trying to be healthy and big bits of cauliflower. And when I went to sit down at the table, I slipped and dropped and some stuff spilled and I didn't want to drop the whole meal, so I caught it. But this big thing of cauliflower came out and I was sitting down and it landed on my thigh. And first I just went, fuck, because I spilled the meal. And then the cauliflower started to burn my thigh. And I went, fuck. And I'm trying to put the meal down without spilling any more, rather than just flick everything on. And it actually burnt my leg. I've got this blistered burn on my fucking thigh. So that's a safety tip for all you kids.
I will add my absolute agreement to angry about hot veggies. I have seen a microwave explode because a chef had been putting some frozen veggies under the running water to get them thawed, and then we had this massive stream of orders come in. He needed the frozen veggies. Why they were frozen instead of fresh was that they needed to be flash fried. So they needed to be wet, but then tempura flash fried. So they had to be coldish. Anyway, so he went, fuck, they're still frozen. I'll whack them in the microwave. And it's an industrial kitchen microwave. Yeah. So he's whacked it up really high and put it on mega nuclear. And we're going, do. There's clearly an air bubble in the package.
And it expands.
The air bubble has been compressed as the water expands, as it melts. And then the air bubble has come out of steam, flash steamed the whole lot. The veggies were the main culprit because in all the veggies water, they flash steamed. If you've got a peanut of water, the steam is the size of an elephant. So that's the release of steam. So this released all at once in the space of half a second. Don't worry about your microwave. It's fucking gone. This microwave, the door flew off and hit the hood and went through the hood and stayed there like a knife. And the microwave peeled open like a flower. There was shit through the ceiling. There were veggies that actually spiked through the ceiling. And we were like, bang, fuck. And the wait staff had to go out and say, ladies and gentlemen, meals will be slightly late. The microwave has exploded.
Kitchen's had a morning out of fire. Yeah.
Just, we'll be back. We'll be back as soon as things get better. And they were. 5 minutes later, fire's out, and we're all smoke, coke, let's go. We're back. It was great. So sorry, I just thought I'd
adventures again another day.
Well, I wanted to add because fucking microwave broccoli gets hot as fuck.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, so good night, all you people.
Please subscribe to Angry because he's nice. Please tell 6 of your mates. And please go to his Patreon and give him hundreds of bucks. And also, please hit the bell thing so that you know when Angry's going to give it a bit of, I've had thoughts. And if you say nice things about us in the thumbs up and say maybe on the front page, hey, I've seen this really good channel. It's got Angry on it. And he's sexy. And sometimes he brings his slightly retarded but sexy friend on who does sex cheap. It'll be good. So that'll be good. Thank you. And thank you very much for letting us be on your device too. You're nice.
And if you want our company in your ears at your leisure, there is a podcast. If you just search on like Apple Podcasts for Angry Aussie, you will find it. There's almost a dozen episodes up there now, I think. So trying to put a new episode up weekly. And usually it's stuff we've done on live streams or pre-recorded. But yeah, it's there. So you can have us in your ears whenever you want. It's great.
He's good. I like it. I did it though.
Yeah.
I would like it.
We'll see you all again later.
Love you. You're nice.
Hey, bye now. Got to hit end